Hello and welcome to the Peak Endurance Podcast. Ron and I are here again.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Awesome. Anyway, here we are in sunny, as you can see, there is sun, Canberra. We are staying with Pam Muston. She's an extraordinary ultra runner, and I will be interviewing her after this for another pod. But for now, we're here in Canberra to do the Sri Chinmoy 100K trail race tomorrow.
Yep. So we're starting nice and early. It's about 6 o'clock in the morning tomorrow. Yeah. Hopefully, everything goes to plan.
Which we'll get into in a minute. So this is just a little pre-podcast. This should only go for 10 minutes or so. I'll just check the time to keep us on time. We just want to sort of give our predictions for how we think the day is going to go, and then we will do a post after the race and talk about how it really went. Now, for those of you who don't know, every year Ron and I run with a team from Canberra for Run Against Violence to raise awareness. And that's what this is for tomorrow, because we have to get a certain amount of kilometres as a team. And we wanted to come last year, but we were in lockdown. We wanted to come the year before, but we were in lockdown.
Yep.
So we've finally made it to come and be as part of the actual team here in Canberra with everybody else.
So most, or a fair chunk of the people that we do the Run Against Violence group run with, quite a few of those are doing some form of run tomorrow during the Sri Chinmoy, because it's also a 100K solo, but it's also a 2 to 4 person relay.
Yeah. So Pam's doing the 400 with just like us, and a few of the others are doing the relay, and others aren't, doing it, but doing some other things. But it's all part of it. I'm also just recently it's been in the news about Eliza Fletcher, which I'm sure everybody has heard about. So as part of Finish Eliza's run, that's for me certainly will be part of the purpose. Like, I'm not trying to make it's just something for me that I feel I want to do in my own head, because no woman should ever have to feel that, I've seen a lot of people saying, well, women shouldn't run at 4:30 in the morning. For myself, I often do, because I work. And if I don't run at 4:30 in the morning, I don't run. Or that women shouldn't wear a crop top and shorts. And generally, probably at 4:30, I wouldn't be, probably because it's too cold. But it's been hot before, and I've run in shorts and a crop top when it's really, really hot, because it's really, really hot. And I should have just as much right to do that as a guy who runs with just shorts and no shirt on. Why is it okay for a guy to dress differently when it's hot, but not for a woman? So
absolutely, it's not up to the woman to change their behaviour. It's up to the men to change their behaviour.
Yeah. So to me, within myself, I want to think about that, especially because this is Run Against Violence. This is the purpose, that's what we're trying to raise awareness about, is against domestic violence, physical and psychological violence. And here we have a classic example. It's not domestic, but it's still,
violence, yes.
Yeah. So that's, to me, I have read some posts. The reason I'm a bit funny about talking about this as well just today is because I've read some posts about people, if you're doing this and hashtagging Finish Eliza's Run, it's virtue signaling. To me, it's not, just because. And I think we have it is good to honour people, and it's good to remember people, and it's good to use that as a means of raising awareness. And and that's just my thoughts on that. So now we'll move on beyond that. But I just wanted to bring that up, that is something I will be reflecting on as we run, because it is something that women all over the world face.
Yep.
That's a okay.
Point.
Yeah.
All right. So let's just have a quick chat about how we got here. So we left Melbourne yesterday.
Friday,
yeah.
Just after lunch.
Yep.
And because we were driving to Albury, because we were staying at my friend Zoe, who paced me on the Seven Peaks run.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, they went away on holiday, so we just went and crashed at their
We
place
had
anyway.
organised to stay with them and, maybe have a dinner and catch up.
Yeah.
And then it turned out that they were on holidays and weren't going to be there anyway. So we just stayed at their house instead.
Anyway, yeah, just, smashed the window, climbed in and, no, we went and got a key. Don't worry.
Yes, we did have permission.
Yes. And thank you so much, Zoe. Really, really appreciate that, awesome friend. Yeah. So we, and it was quite on the way. It was suddenly the rain hit. Yes. It had been warm, like 20 degrees. Yeah. Beautiful. And then the rain hit and the lightning and.
Yeah, we had to drive through some fairly significant storms, just probably, I guess, between Wangaratta and Albury. There was a lot of rain, a lot of heavy rain and a lot of lightning and thunder in the sky. So that made for a bit of a challenging drive. At one point, it was still, I don't know, maybe 3:30, but
it got so dark.
At my watch thinking the sun was going down because it was so dark.
Yeah. No, it was certainly, it made for, a less easier drive.
Yep.
But so we got to Albury and then we, had some dinner. We packed our drop bags, just so that once we got to Canberra, we could go straight to check in and drop them off, which is what we did. And Canberra, we thought it was like a 4-hour drive. It was basically 3.
Not much more than 3. So it was and such an easy drive too.
Mm.
So before we knew it, we were in Canberra. Actually got to Canberra. We weren't allowed to check in until 1 o'clock, but we ended up getting here about 12:30. So we had a bit of time to kill before we could check in anyway.
Yeah. So then we checked in, and we saw Pam at check-in, so we checked in, got our numbers, and dropped off our drop bags, and then we headed back here to Pam's.
Yep. So since we've been here, we've just had a nice chat with Pam and her husband, and had a nice catch up, and had a cup of tea and a relax, and so we've just started getting our stuff ready for tomorrow. And
Pam talked us through a bit of the course, because it's a big loop of Canberra, so we were thinking, it's got to be a lot of footpath or bike path and that, but she did say it is a lot of trail, and that a lot of it, because they've had so much rain, could be really, really muddy. And she was talking about sections where she was going through mud, and those who are listening can't see it, but sort of mid shin height, basically.
Basically 6 inches.
Yeah. Whatever that is, who knows?
Or 15 centimetres.
Thank you. Half a ruler.
Half a ruler into the ground.
Yes.
Because it's so sloshy and muddy.
Yeah. So, but Jesus keeps all these different notifications keep coming on my computer about my software. Sorry about that. It is what it is, and at the end of the day, everyone in the race has to deal with it, and. As with Wonderland being a little bit harder than we expected, it's all just part of the nature of trail running, is that difficulties do come up, and how we navigate those and deal with those is part of the allure, I guess.
And once again, trail running in a new place, because I've certainly never run in Canberra. Isabel's done a little bit of running in Canberra.
I've done a little bit here, but I've done a lot of mountain bike racing in Canberra, and I've done a few races here in Canberra, to be honest.
Yeah. So, but doing a run like this in a new place is by far the best way to see it, from a fresh perspective, because where we're running, you'd never be able to get to these places by car, and and you wouldn't see such a big, beautiful loop. And supposedly Martin Fryer has designed this to be a really beautiful vista of Canberra. So so once again, we are doing this run for fun, and people go, hey, 100Ks for fun, but it is for the enjoyment of seeing somewhere different, certainly for Ron, once again, like with Adelaide, because he hadn't run in Adelaide before. He hasn't run in Canberra, so it'll be really good for Ron to see a bit of the area. We'll be running together, which is always fun to do that. And also part of training for my race in New Zealand, the Wild. Normally, like I've said before, I wouldn't normally do 100K in the lead up to 100 miler, but this just was too good an opportunity to miss, catching up with friends and running in new places. Because the last time I caught up with Pam was in February 2019, that same weekend. My son rang me at the airport when I was in Canberra going, Mum, have you stocked up on toilet paper?
And I'm like, what in God's name are you talking about? Why would I need to stock up on toilet paper? And he's going, because there's a pandemic. And I'm like, what? What's that? What's happening? And that was the last time I saw Pam.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah.
And it was maybe 2 weeks later we went into our first lockdown in Melbourne.
Yep. So we've been going out 2 weeks when we went into lockdown.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, coincidentally, the last time Isabel was up here was the weekend that we
had just met. Yeah. So that's funny.
Yeah. So it's
talk about hazing a relationship.
It's a big deal in many ways.
Yes, so, yes, true. Yeah. So anyway, enough about us. The race itself, we're just wanting to have a good run, see something different, because like we said, I'm wanting to focus on having fun in races again and not just on suffering more and more and more. Mm-hmm. Yes, you will suffer, and in the wild I probably will, and we'd suffered a bit at Wonderland. I've already blanked it from my memory, but not in a prolonged way like I did with my 200 plus runs.
Yeah.
Which right. I psychologically I just needed to get back into running again, just purely for enjoyment. Mm-hmm. So that's what tomorrow's all about, and it will be a beautiful course. 100K is flatter than what we're used to. 2,600 meters climbing approximately, which was the same as Wonderland with 65K.
Yeah.
So this is a bit flatter, but there will still be some decent climbs where I'm sure, like I said to Ron, I'll be whinging and saying, where are my poles?
Yes.
But we'll manage.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
Yeah, so looking forward to it. Something different, but also something, worth doing.
Yeah, so this is our prediction section where we will say it will be fun. We'll see what happens. We'll see how much we're whinging about what It's
going to be fun. It's going to be easy. We'll romp it in.
Yeah, we'll run it in. No adductor cramping. No, I checked all my socks, everybody, and I even found another pair with some holes in them, and I threw them in the bin, even though they were ones that I loved, absolutely loved. But they're in the bin now, and I made sure I got another pair. But I think after looking through my sock drawer, I need to buy some new socks.
Yes.
So
very important thing, part of your kit.
Yes,
socks,
my socks.
Because they can make or break a race very quickly.
Yeah, so basically these socks were 4 years old. I bought them in Canada in 2018, and they were all my favourite socks. And Ron's like, I think they've done their dash now. 4 years of trails and mud and is enough. And then you find some nutrition that I was keeping.
Speaking of keeping things for a little bit too long, we were going through, and this part of, us packing to move, we've unearthed a few beauties. We were going through one of the tubs, looking for some stuff to, that had, come to light that we, thought we could use on the weekend. Isabel pulled out a pouch of nutrition that she bought a little while ago, she said, and, wanted to try it and never got around to it.
And I said, should we try it?
Is it worthwhile trying it now? And I finally managed to find a use by date, and the use by date was 2014.
It's only 8 years ago.
8 years ago. So
how bad could it be?
Very important to check your use by dates.
I have a tendency to buy things, never use them, and then go, look what I've got.
Yeah, look what I've got. Maybe I should try that.
No, don't.
It's not from 2014.
No, yes. Yes, it is a bit of a habit of mine, even within the standard kitchen, and my daughter used to despair of it. But I don't like to throw things out.
Clearly.
Yes. But anyway, so no, we're not using that. It was some new can. Who knows whether it was any good or not? Don't know.
That went into the bin.
Yeah. Anyway, so now we are just sticking with our Spring Energy gels and 32 GI.
32
liquid.
GI, yes.
Yep. And that will all go awesomely, I'm sure. All righty, well, that's it.
Yep.
We're now going to interview Pam for a separate podcast.
So you did see in the background, if you're watching this video, she did wander through the back a minute ago.
That's Pam. She was just introducing herself. All righty. So a short interlude, and then you will hear post-race. So it's a whole probably 2 days for us by the time we record it, but it'll be literally less than a minute for you.
Yes.
Enjoy. Well, hello, and we are back. And with the magic of technology, it is now Tuesday following the race. So this is an analysis, post-mortem, whatever, on our run out at Canberra, up at Canberra, wherever the heck it is. So it was a good day.
It was. It was. The weather gods smiled on
Oh
us.
my golly, did they what? And
Um,
the weather app said it was going to be like 2, 3, 1
Yeah.
degrees, and Pam was saying, "Oh yeah, but the weather app also says it's going to feel like -3." Guess what? It was 6 degrees.
6 degrees. And actually, when we started, wasn't warm, but it certainly wasn't cold.
It was certainly singlet and shorts weather, not t-shirt and capri weather.
Yes.
Although by the evening, I was kind of glad for the warmer clothes. And at the
Yeah.
end of the day, I'd rather wear a little bit extra and be a bit too warm than not wear enough and be cold,
Yeah.
which is advice for everybody, because you can't warm yourself up very easily, but your body can deal with being warm. It doesn't deal well with being too cold.
Yeah. And you have to prepare, we did have drop bags, but we didn't have changes of clothes, but you do have to be prepared for the entire day. So if we had a worn singlet, we would have got pretty cold when the sun went down that night.
But the thing is, we carried rain jackets with us the whole day, even though that wasn't mandatory kit, because a rain jacket keeps you surprisingly warm.
And it's light.
Yeah, if I was wearing a singlet, that would have been almost too much. I brought sleeves. I started with sleeves. That would have been enough. I mean, I got cold. I put on gloves. It was fine. Like, seriously. It's not like we got freezing cold. Shorts would have been fine too. But anyway, so let's talk about how it all went down. Yeah. Firstly, it was a beautiful loop of Canberra, which was just awesome.
Yeah.
And what I found really amazing, other than the first 5K, it was about 5K before we hit the trails.
Yeah, about that. Yeah, maybe slightly less, but
and we did do other bits of road, but not much.
No.
But it's amazing how we could link up 100 Ks for a loop of Canberra with trails.
Yeah. There was only that bit at the start, and then there was that short section after the I think it was after the first transition.
Yeah. I mean, there were some, there were some sections, but remarkably few.
Yes, that's right.
I've done shorter races with more road.
Yeah.
And so we started by the Lake Burley Griffin.
Yep, right at the bottom of Anzac Parade or Anzac something.
Anyway,
the big road that comes down from the War Memorial.
We know our nation's capital well.
Where it meets the lake.
Anyway, so we started there, and it was beautiful on the lake in the morning, wasn't it? And there was a big full moon, even though it was daylight. Yeah. And so we ran along the lake, and it was just so lovely, and everyone was so civilized. Nobody sprinted off like it was a park run.
Yeah.
It was awesome. I mean, the fast people went fast, but they didn't sprint off stupid fast.
Yeah.
And it was just lovely. People were chatting, and it was just beautiful. Oh, it was just, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And then as we kept going, just like with Wonderland, I find people everywhere were lovely. People walking that we met, other runners, people would be cheering us. We saw heaps of mountain bikers, because Canberra's a great place for mountain biking, especially Stromlo and all that. And and the mountain bikers were going, "Oh, you're doing so well," and well, how far are you going? And they were really encouraging, and it was just really lovely. Yeah. So once again, it really restored my faith in humanity as well, to see people just being so nice and so lovely and just awesome.
Yeah, no, it was good. Yeah. There was lots of people out because it was a lovely Sunday, day. So there was a lot of people out and about, and we got a lot of, congratulations and well dones and keep it ups. And there was one that I'm pretty sure halfway through said we were nearly done.
Yeah, but people like to say that. Then they'll have a nice laugh to themselves, you know.
But it was good. It started by doing a bit of a loop of the lake, and we crossed over on the main bridge and then up around and kind of behind the new Parliament building, which was nice. Nice view of all that area.
And Ron managed to get a halfway decent shot whilst running sideways.
As I was running sideways, trying not to trip over.
And I'm like, oh my God, here we go. 4K in, he's going to break his ankle. Anyway, and so then we we were going along, and we were there were lots of runners around, and what
Mm.
happens with this race is half an hour after the solo runners start, the relay runners start, and some of the relay runners are 2 people, and so doing 50-ish Ks each, and the other one is 4, so they're doing a leg each, which are varying distances.
Yeah.
So of course, even the relay runners were kind of different speeds, because the ones doing
Yeah.
50 Ks were slower than the ones who were doing 25.
Mm.
But, you know, the relay runners were lovely. They were,
They
you
were
good on you for doing the 100K. And they were so lovely as they sprinted off.
as they went racing past us.
Yeah, you know, yeah, I just felt that it was a really good atmosphere for the whole race, and for Canberra itself, and a really good, if you've never been to Canberra, I just think this is such a good race to do, because you get to see so much of it, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
What was interesting was, you know, we went to the main sort of high points around Canberra, but to make up, if you just ran between the high points, it would not be 100K.
No.
Okay. So to do that, what I would say to Ron is, it's okay. It's just going to be another circuitous route to the top, which Ron suffered through in complete silence, never complaining more than 50 times. That when are we ever going to get to the top?
We could see the mountain, we could see where we had to go, but it seemed like every time we turned a corner, we turned away from it. I don't know how we kept doing that and still managed to get to the top, but it just seemed like every time we turned a corner, we turned away from where we needed to go.
Yeah, and Ron thanked Martin Fryer, the course creator, many times throughout the race. Thanked him profusely.
Yeah.
So thanks, Martin. Actually, I do thank Martin. It was a brilliant course.
It was a great course, and like Isabel said, the way they joined together all those trails to do
I don't know how he came up with that.
100K loop of the city, you know, with all those hills, like including all those hills, it was a great job.
And at the start of the run, we were talking about how, you know, you can't really say, oh, we're doing this for fun. Like, it's okay to say it when you're not racing, when you're home on the couch having a hot chocolate or a wine or whatever it is, and say, oh, let's do it for fun. When you're doing it, we all know ultra running is not necessarily fun in the moment all the time. Yeah, you can have fun moments and enjoyable, I wouldn't say even fun, enjoyable moments and satisfying and those sorts of things. But so we sort of talked about, and this is how I, over the years, have learned to look at my races, that I learned to look at them more as a challenge and an adventure. But for this one, we decided it would be an experience. Rather than saying, oh, let's go on, this is going to be fun, because we all know it's not going to be fun at kilometre 80. So we're looking at it as an experience and a journey, because we were doing a lap of Canberra. And did you find that helped with your mentality too?
It did. Particularly the experience, you know, because, I mean, I've been to Canberra a couple of times, but certainly never to run there. I'd never run in any of those areas. It was all new, and so it was a real experience. Yeah.
Now, obviously, I've run there a lot, and back in the day, mountain bike there a bajillion times. So I know the area, but it's all changed, of course. And it's all new for me too. This was your first 100-kilometre race in a very long time.
Yes. Early 2019 was the last time I did a 100K race. And
you've only done 2 of them.
And this was my third. So I did one in 2018, which was Gow. Then I did Duncan's in early 2019, and that was it. Yeah. So, and really, the longest run you've done before then was the 65K at Wonderland. Yeah. Since then. So in 2 weeks, he's done his 2 longest runs in 3 years. Yes, that's right.
You're welcome.
Yes, that's what you call getting thrown in the deep end.
Yes, so I did apologise to Ron in the later stages of the races, when he was still complaining in silence and suffering in silence, whatever he was doing, that maybe I shouldn't have asked him to do the 100K with me. Yeah. But
no, it was good. I, as much as it hurt, I did enjoy it.
Yeah. So, talk about, you know, what happened for you. Like for me, you know, I haven't done a 100K race in ages, but I've done way longer. Yeah. And for me, this was a little bit out of my comfort zone, because it was a lot flatter. I know it still had 3,000 meters climb. 2,800.
2,800, I think. Yeah.
So it's still a decent amount, but for me, that's flat compared to what I normally like to do. So it was a lot more running, which is a challenge for me over that distance because I haven't done that sort of race for years and years and years. So it was a challenge for me, but I still probably had legs that are more used to being on them for that amount of time than you do. So it didn't affect me quite so badly. And we sort of found that you started to slow down and struggle a bit from around 70 Ks when we went up Black Mountain. So do you want to tell people sort of how that manifested for you?
Yeah, so the first, I guess, maybe 50 to 60 Ks were pretty cruisy. We just cruised along. The pace, the pace was suitable for people that were going to be running 100 Ks. Well, we felt that we still had, energy to spare, so we weren't redlining it.
Because we weren't planning on, because we are using this as training, and I am, because I don't want to have to take a heap of time off to recover. I wanted to be able to, take this week as kind of recovery, but to be able to get back into it and keep going with my training, because otherwise I won't be ready.
Yeah. And what people may or may not know about Canberra is Black Mountain is visible to the whole town, no matter where you are, because it has a very distinctive tower on the top. I think it's called Telstra Tower or something like that. And so for the first 70 kilometres of this race, it was
Ron suffered in silence.
It was always in your peripheral vision, and you knew at some point you were going to have to go up there.
And what was uncanny, or I don't know if uncanny is the word, what was strange was that no matter how far we ran, it never got any closer. And we knew we were heading for it.
Because we were kind of running in the opposite direction for the first, I don't know, maybe 15 to 20 Ks. But as soon as we turned around and started heading for it, we could, it was always there. It was always
the same distance away.
But it seemed like every time we caught the next glimpse of it, it was still that same distance away.
So we thanked Martin again.
Yes, so I thank Martin profusely for that. And then we finally got to the point where we were right there. We were getting ready to go up it, and then for some explicable reason we ran right past it. And
that's right.
And I was looking over my shoulder, going, "Hang on a minute."
I don't think you said hang on a minute. I think you said something else.
Yeah, we're supposed to be going up there. Why are we running away from it now? And then we turned a sharp corner.
I thought,
here we go. We're going to go up it now. And then we continued to run past it in the other direction. And I'm looking over my other shoulder going, hang on a minute.
No, you didn't say that.
But then finally we actually made the right turn.
Which was a horrible turn.
Which was a very sharp turn that then continued to go straight up the steepest possible way up to the top of the mountain.
Yes, and that's when
and that was when the wheels fell off.
Yeah.
For me,
because I did say this to you afterwards. You really pushed up that, and whereas I took it a bit easier, and I could feel you pulling away from me, and then you pushed up it, and that kind of ruined you.
Yeah, I do acknowledge that, but I tend to, when I'm going up something like that, I try and just get it done.
But but you've got to think about what comes after that, and it was a lot of stairs, which he was exclaiming politely about the comparisons to Wonderland with the stairs.
Yes, that's right. And so we got to the top there, and we were by the time we got to the top, we were, somewhere in the vicinity of 70 kilometres in. And then the descent, probably played just as big a part in breaking me, because it was very steep, very rocky and technical. So,
and I think it's more than the steepness that was probably hurt your legs, was the technicality, because you couldn't get a proper rhythm up or stride, and you had to jump downstairs, and more impact, and you had to think so much more. And people need to not underestimate how exhausting thinking is and using your brains in an ultra, and because literally the brain does actually consume a lot of calories, and the more you use it, the more calories, and and the calories it needs is carbs, and so it was tough from that perspective as well.
Yeah, and so by the time then, after we got down off the mountain, then we actually had quite a long run through suburbia.
Yeah,
to
which
get
was
to the next
a lot
transition.
of sort of flat and undulating, which
Yeah.
after you would hurt your legs doing all of that.
And it was concrete bike path, footpath.
Yeah,
So although we continued to run quite consistently through there, it was not easy running. It was
yeah.
quite painful. My hips were starting to hurt. My feet were starting to hurt. So yeah, it was quite a grind after that, particularly until we got to the transition.
Yeah. So Ron did really well. Like I just told him to keep fueling, which is when you're starting to suffer like that, just keep fueling. That's all you can do. Lots of drinking, lots of food. Not that you were a massive fan of that, but it was something you tried to the best of your abilities, and certainly we had Coke at every, because there weren't just the transitions, there were little aid stations everywhere with just Coke water.
I didn't actually start drinking the Coke until probably just before we went up Black Mountain.
Oh, okay.
I'd actually managed. I wasn't really interested because we had the
32 GI,
32 GI that which we were drinking, which was awesome, yeah. And so I was pretty happy with that until I started to get.
But I did introduce you to my delicacy, didn't I?
Yes. So at each, we had drop bags at every transition. So the three different transitions. And in each one of those, we had a peanut butter and Nutella wrap.
Oh, how good are they?
And that was really good. It was so easy to eat. Even once, it was getting long in the day and they were getting a bit crunchy.
Well, yes, the bread was getting a bit dry.
Yeah, it was getting a bit dry. It was still, I actually still found it quite easy to eat.
And for me, I'm finding I can't really eat much. I need liquid nutrition. I was just nibbling because I don't like the hungry feeling. And that peanut butter and Nutella recipe came from my dad, which is interesting because he gave it to my kids. And I was never allowed sugar as a child. And as a child, we would never have had Nutella in the house. That would have been thrown in the actual bin. But there he was giving it to my kids. But it is just food of the gods, is it not?
Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah. So, and it's got the carbs, sugars, fats, protein. It's actually a really good nutrition source. So just heads up for everyone that is actually something good to have for that reason.
Yeah. And so we got to the final transition, which was at about 78 kilometres. Thereabouts.
Well, yeah, we thought it was going to be 75.
We thought it was going to be 75. Then we got to 76 and we crossed over a road which had a lovely lady, just helping, make sure
push the button and
make sure, we weren't crossing, dangerously or anything. And she helpfully told us that there was 1 kilometre until a transition.
And we're like, awesome.
Like, oh, thank goodness. We thought it'd be around there. Thankfully we were right.
So then we got to the next traffic lights.
We got to the next traffic lights, which was about 1 kilometre down the road. And the lovely, helpful guy there said, well done, you're doing great. You've got just over 1 kilometre to the transition.
And we're like, wait.
The lady just back there. The lady back there just told us it was 1 kilometre. He said, oh, well, unfortunately, you've got about 1 kilometre to go till the transition.
So then we got to that next transition. And what when we were there, someone said, oh, you two running together. And we said, yeah. And she goes, oh, isn't that sweet? And then she said, oh, but have you had some of those dark moments where you end up fighting and not getting along? And we're like, no.
Yeah, no.
And then, we left there and there was another guy helping us cross the road there. And I did hear you when a kid cycled up, threatened to steal the kid's bike.
I did. I told him as he rode past me, I said, don't you get too close to me or I might just knock you off that bike and steal it.
And he looked at you like you're a weirdo.
Did not know what to make of that.
I don't think his mum did either, to be honest. And I'm like, oh, God.
So needless to say, he didn't get too close.
No. And you didn't get that bike. Because I can just imagine you on that little bike. That wouldn't have hurt your legs at all.
Probably wasn't appropriate for the hills to come.
No, probably not. So anyway, then we kept going and, Ron had forgotten his head torch.
Yes.
When we left Canberra, we were nearly at Albury and he went, oh, crap, where's the head torch? And I'm like, well, I brought mine. So he had borrowed one of Pam's, but it was one of Pam's crappy ones, which she said it was not a good one. No. And Pam was right. It was not a good one. So not only was Ron suffering, and I'm trying to pull him along by running a little bit faster than he wanted to.
Yeah. Because by the time we needed the torch, we only had
not far.
Less than 10 k's to go by that stage.
But yeah, and I'm trying to, you know, give us a bit of the hurry up, and but then he's got like no head torch and he's stumbling behind me.
I was doing that thing where I was running by feel, you know, I was throwing my feet out in front and hoping that it did.
And I'm in the head going, bump, step. I was like a guide for the blind.
You were.
And then I'd go, ooh, when I tripped on something.
That's right. So I kind of knew where the bumps were from where Isabel tripped.
Yeah. So you know, it was kind of like bloody Laurel and Hardy out there, I tell you.
Yeah, and it was a tough, that the final hill was quite tough as well.
Because we didn't know quite how it went. Like and we were like, oh, we're at the top. And then there was this winding single track. And you were, you know, being like the kid in the back of the car, kind of when do we get there kind of thing.
Yeah, and the dummy had been spat and the toys were being thrown out.
Oh, they were well and truly thrown out of the pram. and then we got up onto the road and I'm like, we're at the top. And then it went, oh.
And then it directed us across the top and up to the next one.
Yeah, and I'm like, sorry. and Pam had told us it was 3 k's from the top. I think she meant 3 k's from the mountain because we got to the top and the guy goes, 5 k's to go. And I was like, what? And then and that descent down, I found, was hard because it was kind of basically concrete.
It was, yeah.
And I mean, I was okay. I wasn't particularly hurting in the legs or feet because, mind you, I changed my shoes at 50 k's for spongy ones because I wasn't sure about the other ones. I hadn't done a really long run in them. So once again, this was experimenting with shoes for the wild. So my feet were feeling fine. My legs were pretty good. They'd been a bit sore halfway through. But for me, I find my body gets better the further I get into it, and you know, but you were suffering a bit down that hill too.
And certainly from once we got off the Black Mountain, Isabel was, you know, still like she was in front of me a little bit and looking really fresh and looking like she wanted to just keep on going. So,
but that's fine.
But I you know, because I spend a lot of time behind her watching her, you know, and being impressed in how she just didn't seem to feel the kilometers that, you know, like I had.
I tried to encourage him to feel like he was rolling on a bike. And did you want to sing the song?
I can't remember the song. Really.
Oh, rolling, rolling, rolling.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, the Rawhide song.
Yes. So, but he didn't find it funny at the time.
No,
I did. I thought it was hilarious.
And I was having trouble visualizing myself on a bike as well.
Coming from a mountain bike background, I can quite easily visualize that, and it actually really takes away from any discomfort in my legs, and I almost feel like I'm floating over the ground because I just imagine myself rolling on a mountain bike. And actually one of the mountain bikers did say that when we saw him in the park. He goes, oh, a lot easier for me on the downhills.
Yes, that's right.
You know, a lot less painful. And we're like, yep.
So
but you know, and then we got down onto we're going to call it Anzac Parade. I don't know.
Yeah, I can't remember.
And you know, it was just a slight downhill. It was concrete, but that's okay. A slight down, which was lovely. Just once again, you just feel like you're rolling all the way into the finish.
It was a nice, easy finish. Once we got down off the hill and ran past or around the War Memorial, the last little bit was a nice, 2K jiggity jog into the finish line.
Yeah, it was really nice. And then it's a
lovely area too, very, very iconic, and
that's right,
a nice spot to finish.
And then we sort of rolled up to we sort of ran back along the side of ran past the car pretty much.
Yeah.
And ran to the finish line, and people cheered and clapped, and it was lovely, great atmosphere once again.
Yep.
And Pam was just there. She'd just gotten in a couple of minutes early. She said she'd been running scared, hoping we wouldn't catch her.
Yep.
And then someone offered you a beer, and I said, "What about me?"
Yeah.
And I grabbed it.
Before I was not going to grab it anyway. I'm just not the sort of person that can drink a beer after doing something like that.
Yeah.
It doesn't appeal to me. I'm not the sort of person that can do that.
So you had lentil soup.
So I had lentil soup, and Isabel had a little bit of beer before.
Well, I kicked it over. Oops. And then we went back to Pam's house, and we had pulled pork that her husband had made, and beautiful roast vegetables. So that was awesome. But so at the end, finish line, and just we saw some of the Ravers there.
Yeah.
We're in lead position at the moment
we are?
of the Run Against Violence teams.
Yep.
So yes, like we said, we were doing this for Run Against Violence, and we saw a few of them there. Quite, Pam was
There was
there.
a few, because we know a lot of these people via a chat, so we don't actually know necessarily what they look like.
I mean, I knew Mark.
Yeah, we knew Mark, but there's
some of the others
like
we didn't know.
20,
and Pam,
20 people in the group, so we don't know what a lot of them look like. But they all, called us out and said hello, and
they would cheer us on the course.
Cheer us on the course,
if they were there, and a few of them were, and it was just, I just had such a good day. And I remember even when you were suffering a bit, I said to you, don't forget, when we afterwards we're going to look back and go, that was so much fun, this was awesome. And I did give Ron the old trick, this will be a memory soon, and it is a memory now, when it's that pain is gone, and it's all okay. And it's, I mean, not that you ever considered like dropping or anything like that. I know that was never a consideration. But it's just trying to get through that moment, because it is tough. And the inclination when it is tough is to slow right down. But then in my mind, that just makes it protracted and takes so much longer. So you're better off to just try and get it done.
But I was happy, even though it was hurting, and some of the last couple of hill ascents were quite steep. We still actually did a lot of running. We were still able to keep moving nicely.
Yep.
We
get a rhythm up.
Yeah, we passed a few people who, were obviously struggling a lot more than we were.
Yeah.
But that as you do that, it actually gives you a boost as well to say, I'm not the only one. I might be hurting, but I'm not hurting as bad as that guy.
Because you do kind of forget. You think you are the only one suffering. Yeah. And then you come across someone who's going slower than you, go, wow, they must be hurting even more than me.
Yeah.
So, it's never just you that's suffering. Everyone is, even the fast people up the front. No doubt feeling some sort of pain. When I used to win races back in the olden days, I still suffered. If anything, I probably suffered more than, say, I did on Sunday, way more. It was just for a shorter amount of time. And it was a different kind of suffering. But, everybody suffers in their own way. So not that makes the suffering you're experiencing any easier, but it does. It provides you with some empathy for yourself and others, and not to get angry at yourself for suffering or I shouldn't be hurting or whatever it is, So when's your next hundy?
I don't know. We haven't looked in for that one.
Yeah, I'll think of one. So basically what's next for us is we are doing 4 peaks.
Yep.
And then we are going to do GSER 28K.
Yeah. Yep. So we'll be down or up across at GCR. We're going to be doing some volunteering on the finish line.
Yep.
And we're going to knock out the 28K while we're there as well.
Yeah.
Just because all hill training is good hill training.
Yep.
For us, or for you in particular at this point in time. From now on,
we're going to be focusing more on hills, which is why we're doing 4 peaks and GSER. Because I know my hill block. My massive hill block comes in now, and that's what we'll be focusing on. I've kind of got, I've always got the endurance, but really, I've really focused on that. And, So there we go. That was our trip to Canberra, and it was awesome. And thank you to Zoe for letting us stay at her place in Albury. Thank you to Pam and Michael for having us to stay with them and feeding us like kings.
Yep.
Thank you to Sri Chinmoy for organising the race, and Martin for the course, because it was brilliant, and just everyone involved, and all the Ravers and everyone who is doing in their teams Run Against Violence. Good on you. It was just
thanks to Mark as well. He's
the organizer of the group.
Of the group, and he does a fair bit behind the scenes to kind of get everyone involved and
razz everyone up and get them, make sure that we get our entries in on time, gets people to do the race. He tries to get as many of us as possible doing the race.
And even he was doing the second half, but he was out there at the start, cheering us on, and several places along the way before he started his race. He was out there taking photos and cheering us on, and others obviously, but So, that was, it was good to see a familiar face.
Yeah, yeah.
You know.
No, he did. He was certainly Eddie everywhere,
Yeah,
wasn't he?
was.
Yeah. So, thanks, Mark, for, giving us the idea to come up to Canberra because we loved it. All righty. So just a quick thank you to the show's sponsors. Thank you to Health and High Performance. Honestly, I highly recommend them. I go to them in Mont Albert, see Luke, and he always looks after me and fixes me up and makes sure I can keep running. Holds my body together, basically, after all these years. And also Peak Chocolate, they're awesome because they're Peak as well.
Yes.
And just delicious chocolate. I'll be having some of that tonight with my hot chocolate. Make sure you go to their website, peakchocolate.com, and get 15% off at checkout with the code Isabel Ross with an O, all caps. So thank you for joining us today on the pod. We love it that you have taken the time in your run or your drive or your commute to listen to us prattle on about our adventures. Next week's podcast is an interview we did with Pam about longevity in the sport of ultra running, because by golly, she's been running for a long time.
She is an impressive person.
Isn't she impressive?
Absolutely.
That was the first time Ron had met Pam.
Yep.
So yeah, she's very impressive, awesome lady, awesome athlete, and a lot that everybody can learn from her in regards to sticking around in this sport for as long as possible.
Absolutely.
Alrighty, so we hope you join us for that. Until then, enjoy your run wherever you may be or wherever you are planning to run, and stay safe out there, and catch you next time.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.